It'll probably be frustrating because you'll be uploading content to your social media accounts and nobody's going to be watching it. You may get like 3 or 4 likes for your pictures, even though you spend like 2 hours making those making those designs look really nice. At the end, it may be just 3, 4 people who like your post. And, you're just going to have to get used to that at the beginning, you got to decide, make a decision first. First target the people who are just in their 20s and get them engaged, because it's far more easier to just target one specific demographic as opposed to trying to target 3, 4 at the same time. You don't feel the need that you have to go out there and get the best equipment right at first, because you don't.
My logo was not on the template and I didn't pay attention to it, and then once I put it, to me it looked whole.
Be ready to change yourself. Be ready to challenge your better self. Know that your mind can develop a passionate winning spirit, but not by yourself. We guarantee your family in love with your life, and you're gonna love all the grind. Lewis and Barish, together we develop your mindset with vitamin C for your mind. Don't you settle with what you know. There's much to learn, there's much to earn. Tell yourself, I'm ready to fight, ready to be heard. Out of success and awakening rise. There's so many words that turn into prices. Be ready to change for the best. Step up and be great. Don't be like the rest. Develop your mindset.
We're in LA. We wanted to do something different today. We wanted to come out, do something where we haven't done 1 or 2 times before, but we haven't done this kind of setting. We've been doing over 5, 6 times home through Instagram, and right. Pretty much we want to change the setting a little bit since we've been home and everywhere start opening up. I think it's a good thing for us to get out and do something outside, out of our homes and spaces. As you can see here, all these noises background, because there's like people out here, living their normal lives. And today we're gonna do one more round of social media talking, because we feel like that's something that is such an importance, and people are wondering, people are searching for, looking to answers. So we got some answers for you guys. Hopefully it's going to help you guys to start your journey, or embarking your journey into social media journeys, as we started almost a year and a half ago, kind of.
That's right.
Yeah. So I've wrote a bunch of questions here where it's going to help us to dive in a little bit deep, dive in to find some answers for you guys. Hopefully this is going to help. And I have some answers too for you guys, and we're gonna start. And today it's gonna be how to start a social media channels, social media starting points, tips on where to start from, how to organize your social media accounts. So this is what we're gonna start from, and this is Develop Your Mindset podcast, and we'll like to talk about every week what we go through. And then finally this week we were back in the office. We did a lot of work, and we've experienced a lot. And today we're going to be talking about what we experienced, when we came back, what we put together and everything. Hopefully this is going to be interesting. And Louis is going to have a few things to say, and then we'll start the questions.
So hi everyone. Welcome back to the Develop Your Mindset podcast. It's good to be back for another episode. And yes, a lot of businesses have started to reopen this week, and it's been pretty exciting. It's good to see that more people are getting outside, and more businesses are starting to open, of course with their modifications, but it's good, better than not being able to open at all. So the streets are getting a little bit happier, as you can see. There's more people around, there's more cars driving around, and that's always good and exciting. And this was our first week, back in the office, so that was great too. It had been a while since we've been in the office, so it was good that we were able to, all get together in there. The environment in the office is amazing, and hopefully, next week we'll be back in the office and we'll be doing this podcast from the office. So yes. But today we're out here in the fresh air, so it's exciting and can't wait to get started. So
Awesome.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah, I just remembered we've been planning on how to start the new studio in the office and do some changes, and hopefully you guys gonna like it. I think it's gonna be good for us. So basically today I'm gonna be asking a bunch of questions where most of the answers Luis have, because he's been actually doing this work, and we're doing it together, but he's gonna have most of it for you guys. And here we go. So basically I'm gonna put the question out, and we're gonna be kind of like talking about this, elaborating. So the first question is gonna be one of the things that I'm very interested, hopefully everyone is, when you are beginning, how many social media channels do you need to start with? Basically, you understand, right? So
when you're just starting off your business, or
someone's fresh, someone new,
personal, or
even personal, I think is as relevant, as important as starting a business or starting you're going to sell something. So basically this is a question for beginner.
For sure.
How many social media channels do you need to start with?
For sure. Yeah, so I would highly recommend, even though you may be running a business at this point, I would highly suggest that you start by actually creating a personal social media accounts, just because it's good to see how you interact with these social media channels from the perspective of just a normal person, because some businesses, they forget that aspect of, how the consumer is going to be consuming that content when they see it through the feed, so they tend to just put up posts about maybe the company, just putting posts about themselves, or they're trying to sell you on something, or they're trying to get something from you, so the content is very like, they're trying to take something from the consumer. But if you if you create your own personal social media channel, you understand that you understand why you're there, you understand the psychology of somebody who uses social media, and you understand the fact that you're really there to provide to really take in some entertainment, and to kind of just sort of distract yourself from the world, and to a certain degree, of course. But you have to understand it, and of course, every social media channel is slightly different. Like people go to Instagram for a specific reason, people go to Facebook for a specific reason. So you have to identify, why people go here, and the best way to really know and understand that to the core is to really, do that yourself, and really study how you can interact with social media by that token. And of course, once, if you're in a business, then for sure, start creating your social media channels, because you need them if you're going to be in business, because a lot of people are already in there, and most people, if they don't have the resources, or they just don't have the time to go and actually visit your physical location, if you have one, most likely they're going to start interacting with you through social media. They're going to look you up, they want to see what you're up to, what you offer, how you treat your customers, or the reviews that are being left by people who interact with your services. And so it's very good that you have your social media accounts active, and that you also keep up, stay consistent with them as well. So, and at the same time, while still delivering knowledge and very valuable, content, you also deliver that entertainment, like I said, because these are, after all, social media channels. So you got to have a good balance between the two, entertainment and value as well. So yeah, that's what I would highly recommend for how many you should start with personal, then get into business, for sure. Yeah, for sure. When you start personal, you can turn those media apps into business. Most of them allow you to turn them into, like, how do you say, like business something? A business account.
Business account.
So if you want to, but.
Because business accounts are a little bit different. They allow you to do marketing and ads, or all kinds of things like that. So eventually you want to turn them like that. I think that's pretty much. Let's go to the next.
For a beginner, then for a beginner, that's really all you really need. But yeah, like you said, once you turn your account into a business one, if you want to turn your personal one into a business account, yeah, sure, you do get access to some insights and data that you normally wouldn't get as a consumer, because as a consumer you really don't need to worry about like who's looking at your posts and stuff like that, because
Right.
there's nothing really you can do with that data besides feel good about yourself and and stuff like that. But as a business, it's really valuable information, because you can use it and to track which content is performing better than the other one. And so whichever content is performing better, that's the one you want to be doing more of. So yeah,
Right.
so from a business standpoint, it definitely makes sense. But I think and there's other things that we can cover too, but as a beginner, that's all you really have to worry about. And another thing I wanted to say too is that with personal social media channels, you also do get that flexibility to really do as you please. You kind of get that flexibility to really experiment and do whatever it is that you want to do with your posts, as opposed to a more professional account. You might want to stick to more professional content and content that's more relevant to whatever your business is and whoever your audience is. So you can't really be experimenting as much as you can in a personal account, because a personal account is just you just being yourself, and you can just put out whatever you want to put out. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, so the second question I'm gonna really put out there, because these are all designed to kind of like go over everything that a beginner would do, such as how to start a social media channel, social media starting points, tips on doing stuff, and then how to organize your social media accounts. My second question would be like where you should spend most of your time building followers and your social media presence, since there are different ones, and if someone's starting new, most likely they don't have a lot of time to actually do everything, or maybe they should have a lot of time put a lot of time doing, like how does it work with someone new? It's very very confusing, because it's a lot to do.
Yes.
And then how to organize,
Yes.
you went through this.
Yes.
And this is why we're here explaining.
I mean, I think it really depends on the business that you're running, and if it really makes sense to really push social media campaigns, really hard at the beginning, because some businesses, you may be able to market in other areas that don't involve like social media. For example, it could be like email, it could be Yelp or stuff like that. So you may not need the social media presence to be as strong just yet. So it really depends on if you really need that, and also it really depends on how much resources you can allocate to social media. So there may be you may be starting off and you don't have as much capital, you don't have as much money to invest, so you may not have what it takes to really hire someone to do this for you, or you may not have the money to educate yourself to do such a thing. And so I think you really have to do whatever it is that's available to you. But it really comes down to like how badly do you need social media, and how bad do you want to actually move forward with that social media. And yes, at first it will be hard. You probably won't understand what you're doing. It'll probably be frustrating, because you'll be uploading content to your social media accounts and nobody's going to be watching it. You may get like 3 or 4 likes for your pictures, even though you spend like 2 hours making those designs look really nice. At the end it may be just 3-4 people who like your post, and you're just gonna have to get used to that at the beginning. You may even get to like videos. You might be making really cool videos, but because your following isn't that great, and you're not able to target the right people, eventually your videos may not get as many views as you would like, and you sort of have to get used to that at first, because that's just how everybody starts. You really have to focus at the beginning. You really have to focus on just embracing that fact and really having fun with the content you're creating, because that's really all you can really look forward to. All you can really look forward to is the value that you're putting out, and really not expecting anything at first. So you really have to just focus on that contribution, really focus on just putting out that value, putting out that content, and really making the customer happy at the end of the day. Whoever's consuming this content, you want them to be really happy with your content, even though not a lot of people may be looking at it. You always want to do it with that intention, because the day will come when you will have that big audience, and you want to have that mindset already of like, I want to deliver value through every post that I put up. You know, I don't just want to take value. Of course, you know, once in a while you will make offers and you will have people, you know, do something with your post, you know, either it is to engage with it, leave a comment, maybe you put a link so that people can go and interact with you more, buy something from you, sign up for something that you may be offering. But at first, just focus on that value, you know, just focus on creating content that you love and that you feel that the consumer is going to get a lot of value from. And that's pretty much it, you know. Eventually with time you can start focusing on strategies that are going to, you know, help you increase your followers and increase the engagement that your content gets and so on and so forth, you know. But that's for a more advanced lesson here. But as a beginner, just focus on the content and just focus on, you know, just have fun with it at first, you know, because this is probably the funnest time actually to interact with the social medias, because, you know, you're just starting off and you kind of have this freedom to do as you like. Once you start getting more followers, once you start getting more attention, you know, the number of posts and the type of posts that you'll be able to make will be more constricted, because, you know, you'll have data now, you'll know what people like, and so you'll have to just create those type of posts. So and you also, you know, you got to kind of manage it, because, you know, if you start posting things that people don't like, your followers can start going down. And so, you know, that's when you have to worry more on the advanced level. But at the beginning, it doesn't really matter, because you don't really have that much followers, so you have that flexible area to just play around and just do with your social media as you please.
Oh yeah, beautiful. That's a ton of information for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed all that information giving out, and please don't forget to leave comments down below if you have any questions. We'll be there for you guys to come in and answer a little more specific questions. And I think that was really good, well covered. I'm gonna move on to the next, which is my next thing that I'm wondering and I experienced is, if you don't have lots of time, you're going to be doing this part-time, where you should put most of your time to get the best results. So because it's a result-oriented platforms, where, because someone's starting new and they're part-time kind of, and they don't have a lot of time, where should they put their most attention, effort to create? And also, if you can talk about a little bit about creation, like what are you actually creating, and what you should actually, you know what I mean, like what is the creation also. So I think that's the best way to put it.
So at first, I would say you have to focus on getting attention, really, because without attention, you know, you can make the coolest thing in the world, but if nobody can see it, nobody can talk about it to their friends, and, you know, it never appears anywhere, you know, like it doesn't really matter, and you're not going to really make any money or anything along those lines. So at the beginning, you really have to just focus on that attention. So, you know, if you don't have that much time to well, here's the thing, like, about time. You should have time. Like, if you don't have time, then that means that you're giving time to something else. So
right.
I would definitely, you know, take a look at your schedule and see, you know, what in your life are you doing right now that doesn't require that much time, you know, or that maybe you should quit, or, you know, there may be a lot of things, you know. You really have to consider how much you're, you know, in this case, if you're, you know, if you're doing your social media for business purposes, obviously, then, you know, your business should mean a lot to you. So, you know, whatever it is that you're doing through your day, you got to make sure that it's all aligned with your business, because, you know, that should be a priority. So if your social media creation of content, you know, if it means a lot to you, if you want to grow your following, then you really have to focus on, you know, dedicate about an hour or two to your social media every day, and, you know, you focus on that attention. So really focus on of course, focus on creating content. But if you're not that good at creating content, don't worry about it. Like, create the content anyway, create it as best as you can. And what I would say is to not invest too much time in the content creation itself, because you're just starting off. And as I've said, not a lot of people are going to see your content. So do what you can and don't really put in too much effort into the content, just because, like I said, not a lot of people, unless of course you enjoy making that content and you have the time to make that content, then in that case make the content really cool and awesome and as best as you can, if that's your thing. But if that's not your thing and you don't really enjoy making content, just make it as best as you can for now. But of course, you got to focus on the other things too that are going to get your attention, such as interacting with other accounts, and also trying to see if you can find your audience in these social media channels. So like on Facebook, on Instagram, try to see if you can find your potential customers in those social media channels and see if you can offer some value there for free. It can be in many ways. You can create posts, of course, but you can also go on, you can go on to other people's maybe people have questions on these social media channels, and you can go ahead and answer them for them. You can lead them to some sort of resource where they can find the answer that they need. Just be resourceful and really try to put out as much value as you can at first. Like I said previously. So focus on that value. Focus on really giving your customer everything that you can possible. Because at the end of the day, this is what business really comes down to. It's about providing value. And so if you're able to demonstrate that you're able to deliver value, even when you're not being paid for it, you're not after the followers, you're not after any of this stuff, but you're doing what you're doing, your social media, you're doing it with like no hidden intentions behind it, but you're really trying to help out the customer and ultimately get that attention, like I said, then you're on the right path. You're already on the right journey, and you just gotta keep going at it. Don't give up. Like I said, not a lot of people will interact with your content. Don't get depressed. Don't get sad. Don't start crying about it. just keep at it. Just keep at it. And one day, out of nowhere, it's just gonna happen, and all that work that you put in is just gonna pay off like crazy. So, yeah, keep at it.
Yes, for sure. Repetition is the key of success. And whatever success you're going after, you're going to find it if you put the time in it and repetition. Totally. I agree. Well, let's go to the next, which is similar question, but it's almost like 3 different parts. What kind of tips do you have for a beginner? This is about tips, right? Just by itself, there's a bunch of things to talk about. And the next is like how you should engage and gain followers. Next is with the time you have and where to put, with the time you have and where to put the most effort. Basically, like you explained that when someone has 2-3 hours a day, that's a pretty good hours, 2 hours, 14 hours a week.
Yeah,
that's a good place to start. Basically, this question is a loaded question, man. What kind of tips, how you should engage with followers, and with the time you have, and where to put the most effort.
So, a tip for beginners, as far as like,
what kind of?
So, well,
tips?
We kind of covered
don't what not to do, or what to actually do more of. That's a tip,
Okay, so I guess from a business perspective, like something that you shouldn't do with your social media accounts is really start following people who are not in line with whatever your business is or whatever you're trying to get to. Because if you're going to be on social media, if you're going to be, going through the feed, not that I recommend that you do that actually, you should try to minimize your amount of social media anyway. But if you are going to go in there, make sure that you follow people who are sort of in the same industry as you are, because here's the thing, like when you start to see other people create content that's similar to something that you're doing in your industry, this can serve as really, really great inspiration for the upcoming posts that you might make in the future. So, and at the same time, this is going to be very uplifting, and everything's connected, because like I said, when you're in business, you really want to align your entire business with your life. You want to make those one. And of course, you want to prioritize your business a little bit more than you prioritize your personal life, just because that business life is really going to pay off and really give you that freedom that you're going to want later in life, so that you're able to enjoy your personal life a whole lot more later down in the future. So this is really an investment. You're investing that time. So you might as well invest that time productively and really, engage with content creators on social media who create content that's very similar to the one that you will be creating in the future. And of course, like I said, take inspiration from them. If you don't have if you're not really good at creating content, I know I was when I first started. I didn't know what content to create, so what I had to do was actually follow a couple people who were in the same department, and all I really did was just take inspiration. And obviously I didn't copy straight what they were doing, but I did something extremely similar to what they were doing. And so here's the thing, like, you may not exactly know how they created this content, and that's perfectly fine. But and it may require for you to educate yourself, of course, because some of this content is actually created like very, for people who are more advanced now in the who have been doing social media for a very long time. They may have software, and they may have skills in editing that you may not even come close to that if you're just starting off in content creation. So take this as a mission. That's kind of how I took it. It's like a mission. You make it your mission to really try to create content that's extremely similar to the one that you saw, because it's really cool and people interact with it. And so you can use that as a way to create content. But all your content should really be value driven, and that's something that I would say to not do. Like, don't engage with social media that's just that's just trying to take your mind somewhere else, and it's really going to kill your focus when you're trying to make the best out of it.
And then there is something about engagement and gain followers. That's something very. If people don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So engagement, engagement is just you just kind of want to let the person, if somebody leaves a comment, if somebody leaves something, you really want to correspond that and really reward that. Show your follower that their behavior of commenting on your stuff will get rewarded. Because here's the thing, like, if you comment somewhere and you don't get a response, let's just say from the person you left a comment from, most likely they won't comment again, because they'll be like, I left a comment, unless of course you're like a celebrity or something. They get a bunch of comments and they don't have to respond back, but that's because they're already like so up there, their status is so high that they don't really have to. But if you're just starting off and not a lot of people know you, you're not doing yourself any favor by not responding and not at least acknowledging the fact that they did such a thing. So make sure you let your followers know that they're being heard, and of course interact with them. Of course, if they're trying to start a conversation, even better, continue up that conversation, follow it up, and see if you can provide some value too in that conversation. Instead of just don't, obviously, if you're just starting off, if they leave a comment, don't be like, thanks for commenting, and leave a link and tell them to buy something from you. Don't do that, because that's very like you trying to take from the consumer, and they probably don't even know you as much. So you just want to make sure that they get to know you. Like I said, if you're just starting off, attention, and you really want to let them know who you are and what kind of value you're willing to provide to that person. So that's really how you engage. And by default, once you start engaging, that person will pretty much create like a word of mouth. So maybe other people will start to know about you, because they hear about you. These people interact with you, and then they're like, oh my god, this and that. They talk about you when they talk with their friends, with their families. And so by definition, you get that word of mouth, and that's always great. But also, if you want to gain more followers, you can also go in there, and if you have the time, or if you want to make the time, You can go into other accounts and you can go ahead and follow them and interact with their content as well. Go in there and leave a comment as well, and see if you could even give some value to that other account as well. See, like, even if you guys are in the same department here, you can still go in there and be like, hey, we're doing the same thing. I see that you do this and this and that. I can actually help you out with this, something like this. What do you think? I can do this for free and everything. So
what kind of tip? No, we talked about that before starting your social media presence, right? This is all way before. Mm-hmm. And how do you research and organize to get to your best starting point? So we always talk about we should research, we should organize what to wear, and then this is about that.
Well, at first, I believe even before you even start any social media campaigns or trying to create any content, besides, the attention as I spoke about, I think it's really important that you understand your own business and you understand the value that you are going to provide for, your consumers, because, that's really where you're going to be putting out when you start your social media. You want to, put out like value-driven content. And so it really helps if you understand like what you're doing, with your business, and this might be like something silly and something simple, but it's extremely important. And I've seen businesses that don't quite understand what they're doing, and so when they start their social medias, they're kind of all over the place and everything's scattered, and people see the social media feed and they're like, what is this company even about? Like, what exactly do they do? And like, that's the last thing you want to do, is confuse the consumer. If your consumer is confused, they probably won't buy anything from you. They won't even engage with your content because your content is very confusing and they don't know what kind of value you offer, and so you don't want that. So at first, I would say really focus on understanding your own business, and also focus on understanding your audience, understanding who, not only the value that you're going to provide, but who this value is going to be most valuable for. So really understand like who is your value for. Whatever business you're in, is it better for guys or is it better for women? Is it better for 20-year-olds or is it better for 30-year-olds? Really understand like who this value is going for. And so at first, I would highly recommend that you focus on just one demographic. Whatever demographic seems to be the most benefited from whatever your business is, target them and start creating content for that specific person. So if it's guys in their 20s, make sure you start creating content for guys in their 20s. And sure, your business, of course, might be more broad, and you might be able to provide more value for guys in their 30s and 40s too. But you got to decide, make a decision first. First, target the people who are just in their 20s and get them engaged. And because it's far more easier to just target one specific demographic as opposed to trying to target 3, 4 at the same time, because then like, if people are just getting to know you and they start to see that one post is relevant and then the other one is like, that's not for me, and it's just not good. So focus on one and create your it'll make your content creation that much easier, because you know exactly who it's going to be for. And then later, you can start adding in more demographics as you go, as you start to get more resourceful, as you start to get more followers, as you start to get a bigger, more attention. Then you can start to diversify and be like, all right, I've helped a lot of 20-year-olds. Maybe I can go in after the 30-year-olds now. And you won't disappoint the 20-year-olds because they know the value that you provide already. They know who you are. And so if they see that you're trying to target now 30-year-olds, they won't be so like surprised. They'll be like, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense that this business is trying to go after other people now.
If you announce it, I think it's going to be even better.
Exactly. Yeah, you can totally do that as well. So like, and it totally makes sense, and they'll most likely support you as well, and they'll probably do word of mouth. Maybe they have friends that are in the 30s, and they'll be like, hey, I know this guy, whatever. He provides this type of service. It's. He just started out helping out even more people now, and so they're trying to expand, they're trying to grow, and this is awesome and everything. So definitely keep those things in mind when you're just starting off. Focus on those things. Focus on the on getting to know your business, and focus on the type of audience that you want to target.
That was it, right? Yeah, that was really good. So That was really good. Let's move on to the next question because I feel like we're putting out a lot of good value here. We decided to sit down, change the atmosphere a little bit for you and for us, and I'm going to continue. There are a few really good points I want to hit, and I know that Luis has a lot of good answers to these questions. And the next one is going to be what kind of equipments do you may need. Of course, this is about equipment, and what to pay attention to. Do you need your face to be in your social media, or content is enough? So equipments, pay attention to, and your face need to be in social media, or just content is enough to start with?
Yeah. I think it really depends on, what kind of business you're in, So like if you're doing like more like a restaurant type of a business, you may not need to show your face, In that case, you may need to just show your food, your location, what kind of stuff you have there, drinks, stuff like that. Maybe you can show people, but maybe people eating, people interacting with each other, having fun at your place, something like that. So in that case, you may not need the presence of yourself in there. But let's just say you're doing something like we're doing here, so we're providing some sort of education in this case, So in that case, it may be more adequate to be more personal, because at that point, you're providing value that's going to help them in their lives, just like we're doing here. So it might be more useful if the person, if you could see us, just like you're watching this video right now, you can see, who we are and how we are, and you can see us like in real time. So, that may make more sense. So, let's just say that in the case that you actually do need to use, you do need to use your face, how do you go about it? So, I personally, didn't start off being this good in video. I struggled a lot when I first started, and it was pretty crazy. My videos were just not that fun. They were not interactive. I couldn't be charismatic, and I couldn't be as expressive as I am today. But eventually you just kind of work at it, and eventually you do get to where you want to get to. But of course, it's going to take some hard work, and it's going to take a lot of emotional perseverance, really. But if you're in that position, I would highly recommend that you just you educate yourself, of course, on how you can go about it, and then just start practicing, practice wherever it is that you can. I started practicing off and obviously not out here. It would have been crazy if I would have tried to do it out here. Actually I was extremely scared to record videos out here in the street or just in the sidewalk, because I was very fearful, that somebody's gonna come and they're gonna watch me, they're gonna hear me, they're gonna hear how badly I'm doing and how I'm struggling, and it's gonna be a disaster, and I just wanted to avoid all that embarrassment, because I felt like I was like really bad. I was a really bad speaker. So you don't have to do it like that. You can just start off by yourself, do it in your room, do it in in some closed area where nobody can see you and stuff, and you're allowed to make the mistakes that you want to make, and nobody's going to judge you, and nobody's going to tell you anything. And little by little, you can start challenging yourself to get out here a little bit more or something, where there's a little bit of people, and then you can make a video where there's lots of people at the end. That's kind of what I did. I went to many places, where there was like a lot of people, and I would just get in the middle and start recording and stuff. That was quite a challenge. Maybe we can do that for the podcast at some point. We can go.
Yeah.
Of course, when this whole thing is over, because right now we can't get in big crowds. That's not conceivable probably for the rest of the year until next year. But yeah, I mean,
hopefully soon.
Definitely start small and do what you can at first. It's going to be a struggle, but if you have to do it, you have to do it, and make sure you don't ignore it. Now, of course, sometimes you may not need to do that. In that case, you're well off. You can just do voiceovers. You can do presentations. You can do, you can have your voice in the background while you show some other things. Maybe you're making, gameplay videos, and you just want to show your skills at playing a certain game or something, or a walkthrough. You're trying to help somebody pass through a certain level. So in that case, you may just want to show the game, and maybe you just put your voice in the background. The equipment can vary as well depending on what industry you're in. For some industries you may need a more high-end camera, and some you might just be able to get off with your cell phone. That just may be enough. Or you might just get away with a $50 to $100 camera that might just do the job. When you're just starting off, because the thing is that at first you should focus on the frequency of the content, putting out as much content as you can, really not focus on, making it, really crazy, because like I said, you're not going to have that much attention, you're not going to have that many followers when you start off, and so it just doesn't, unless you can afford the time and you can afford the investment, to make very high quality content right from the beginning, do it. But if you can't, don't let that stop you either. Just make the content that you can make at first. Use whatever equipment you can use at first, and try to use. There's free software out there that you can use as well if you're looking to edit videos and making them really cool. There's already a software out there that you can use for free, and they can do really the basics of what you really need to do as far as making a video cool. And if you don't know how to use the software, well, there's free videos on YouTube as well where you can learn how to use that specific software. And depending on what your industry is, go and find that specific thing that you need to do. Maybe you need to add subtitles to the video, so you can go and do a video search on YouTube on how to add subtitles. Maybe you need to do transitions. Maybe you need to add special effects in there. Maybe you need to add like a light here or something. Maybe you want to add your logo to the video, stuff like that. Go and go and do the research. You'll find something out there for free. And so here's the thing, and of course, but really just work with what you can, and don't overinvest either. You don't feel the need that you have to go out there and get the best equipment right at first, because you don't. And of course, later on you might want to consider upgrading, but at first, you don't really need it. You just need to create content. You just need your consumer to feel like they're getting some sort of value from your content. If you're not able to do that, it doesn't matter, what kind of equipment you're using. You could be using the best equipment ever, but if you're going to use your equipment just to make ads and have people just buy your stuff without even knowing you, and have people sign up to stuff, it's just not gonna do it. No matter how good your editing skills are, no matter how good your camera is, if you're just in social media to take value from people and take their stuff, it's just not gonna work out for you. So always just focus on the value and focus on the frequency of the content.
Yeah, for sure. The value is very important. You just reminded me of, like, it doesn't matter if it's a social media or you're doing something different. For instance, if you are giving job to somebody and that person is taking care of you for many times, and then one day he decides something is more important than taking care of you, that would be probably the last time you're going to see that person. You're going to be like, if you don't care about my business, then I probably don't want to come here anyways.
Yeah.
So it's as true as doing work on social media, creating a social media. So it's human behavior is as relevant as social media or giving a job to somebody to do something important for you. And so you have to pay attention and learn that end of the day, humans are acting the same way, whether it's on social media or off. So a very important point. And yes, and for the equipment, at first when we first started, we didn't have nice cameras, we didn't have nice computers. We just used Samsung phone to record, and we got pretty good, decent shots and everything. Actually, this podcast is being filmed by Samsung Galaxy S10. It's a pretty good phone, gives us 4K footage, and we're able to do out here, a good photo shoot. So maybe next time we'll bring our 4K mirrorless phone camera, but this is what we're using now.
Right.
You can just do it and start. Louis like to say that a lot. Just do it. which is like true. Just
Actually,
do it.
he likes to say it more than I. I say it once in a while, but
Yeah.
I think he has it on his screen.
Yeah. Well,
I
there's
think
there's a bad
wallpaper.
word in between all
yeah.
in between all the just do it part. So let's go to the next, which is I believe this is where we are at. Now we know when you don't have experience, we need to just start, right?
Yeah.
How to know when to change direction when it's not working the way you plan. So obviously you just have to start is true, and then where is the point where you're doing something that it's not working out? So and when to change direction.
So something I've been talking about, earlier in the podcast was to really, have fun with the social media creation, with the content that you create on social media. Just have fun with it, and really try to figure out, what's going to be the best content that's going to get the most engagement, and the content that's going to be able to deliver the most amount of value for your consumer, and the most amount of value that you can provide as well, because here's the thing, like I said, you really have to understand your business. That's something I said that was fundamental. So you have to understand, like, what value are you willing to give to your customer for free, and what value are you going to want money for. And so once you decide what kind of value you can provide for your consumer for free, then you start putting that out there. And of course, at the same time, you're trying to generate attention, because without attention, your posts are only going to get 3-4 likes, like I said, or they're going to get 10 to 20 views per video, and nobody wants that. So unless of course you run some ads and you pay to get attention, but we'll get into that a little bit later, because that's more advanced, because you're already spending money to get attention. But at first, like I said, you're going to focus on that, but eventually, once you start doing all these things for free, you should start to get some data. Like I said, turn whatever your accounts are, whatever your social media accounts, make sure they're all business accounts. So I believe, pretty much every social media channel, you can turn it into a business account, and with the business account, you're able to get data, and you need data. If you don't have data, then you can't really know what post is performing good, or your videos, you don't know how long people are watching those videos. Are they getting enough watch time? Is the engagement high? Are people staying all the way to the end of your videos, or stuff like that. So once you understand like what content is performing better than the other, that's when you stop just doing the random stuff. You don't want to continue just doing random stuff and just putting out random content that's really leading nowhere, because you're not there yet anymore. You already started, you already took action, and so now you have to calibrate that action. You have to make it produce some sort of results. So at that point, we do what is called a social media campaign. So with a campaign is that what you do is that you're pretty much doing the same thing. You're creating content, but this content now has an intention. Whatever content you're creating, the videos that you're making, the posts that you're designing, stuff like this, whatever it is, it all carries an intention now. It's not just about getting attention. Now it's about actually, let's just say you're creating a social media campaign, let's say, and you can choose the period that you want. It really depends on what kind of data you're looking for. So you can create a social media campaign for like 1 week. So let's just say in 1 week you want this video to perform. You want this video to get, you create this video, you want this video to get 100 views organically. You want it organic, you want 100 views for that video. You don't want to pay for any of it. What are you going to do? So then you create that campaign. So you say, okay, Monday I'm going to put this video on YouTube, and you're going to put it on YouTube, right? Maybe on Monday you're going to share the link of the YouTube video on Facebook. Maybe you're going to share it 2 times. I don't know, with different headlines or something like that. And so you're going to share it, and you're going to get a certain amount of views. And then maybe the next day you try to create a clip on Instagram, and on that clip is going to lead them to go and watch the full video on YouTube. And so that's Tuesday, and then Wednesday maybe you post on LinkedIn or something, and then that LinkedIn post is going to have a link that's going to lead to the YouTube video and stuff like that. You know, that's the strategy. The strategy is to get those 100 organic views on YouTube, and you're going to do whatever it takes. You're going to share from here, you're going to take from here, and you're going to do stuff like that. And that's how, and at the end you check and you see if you actually got those 100 views. And if you did, well, then that campaign was a success. You were able to get the 100 views that you wanted, maybe more, maybe, and if it was less, then you got to see, like, okay, like, what went wrong? Like, they are not shared enough. Maybe your followers on Facebook, maybe you have a lot of them, but maybe they're low quality followers, meaning they're just like fake accounts or something, so they're not really clicking on anything. So that really comes down to what the campaign is. You have a goal and you start posting, but with intention. You have a goal in mind. You're not just posting randomly, just trying to get like some result and trying to, you know, just trying to make yourself feel better, you know, for just posting. There's actually an intention. And so you focus on that intention. You focus on the views, you know. You don't focus on, let's just say, maybe you know, maybe you create another campaign where the goal is watch time. So you want people to watch this video all the way through. You know, you don't care about how many views this video gets. You just want every single view to be, you want people to watch this in the video all the way to the end. That is your goal. That's the goal of that campaign. So, you know, your video may get a couple thousand views, but if, you know, people are dropping off like halfway, then, you know, that's not a very successful campaign, even though you got 1,000 views on that video, you know. So it really comes down to that, having a goal and really sticking to that goal all the way through for whatever length, whatever period of time that you set that campaign for. So that's really the difference between somebody who's just starting off and just doing random stuff, as opposed to somebody who has a goal in mind and is running a social media campaign.
Yeah, those are really good points. You got me thinking. I was wondering about some of the things you were saying, such as how to know when to change direction, which is, I mean, you probably don't want to change direction every minute, every time. We didn't do that, but we definitely changed direction, major direction, when we exhaust that what we're doing is really truly we can do better than what we're doing at that time. And we were able to make that decision where we decided to like change, where we're talking about a lot about business, a lot about stories, everything, but we changed into more like skill set, which is like very different. And I think this is refined version of who we are. So I think eventually you're gonna find who you really are, what you really are good doing, and you know, and eventually get to detail where you are really going with this, such as detail, meaning like after you find out which part is better, more suitable, and then you'll refine it, and then you go really deep into how are you going to explain that throughout. So I think that's what we did, and that's pretty much is very important. But I would say in the beginning, don't worry, just do it. Find what you like, what you're doing, and then eventually you'll get there. So I want to ask the next question. What is the best way to organize your social media when you're doing it by yourself or doing it on your own? So doing by yourself on your own. What I'm trying to say is like organize your social media, meaning like since there's a lot of social media, maybe like what tools you could use or what kind of ways you can organize yourself.
So at first, I mean, you should really know like what type of content is performing the best, And once you know like what kind of content is going to perform the best and at what times, then you can create something that's called the social media calendar, where you can decide what type of content is going to be posted at what specific time. And so, but that's really after you have some data, after you know like exactly what type of content is going to work out for you. But if you don't know that yet, then you have to go out there and still experiment and see what type of content is going to work for you. But when you're ready, you can create the social media calendar, which is extremely helpful because it'll help you, stay on track with what kind of posts you're going to be making every single day. And so usually social media calendars are made once you're ready to make social media campaigns, as we spoke before. Because once you create a calendar, you're already setting specific days to post certain things. So then, it almost like both should be in sync, really. Like your campaign should be aligned with whatever, your calendar is. But of course, your campaign can also consist of maybe you want to sell something, so there may be like some posts of value that maybe on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, maybe you post something that's more value driven. Maybe you just want to give value to the consumer, and then maybe on Friday you actually try to sell them something. You try to tell them like, hey, I got this one thing. If you want to stop by, you want to click the link. I've got this really cool thing. I've been talking about it this entire week. If you want to get more of it, click the link or something. But yeah, definitely, like you need that calendar that can really help you keep track of what you're posting and what you're not posting as well, because sometimes you may be busy running your business in the background, so you may lose track of what you posted what day, and obviously you don't want to end up posting the same thing over and over again, or just recycling the same content, because people will notice that you're just recycling the same thing over and over again, and that's kind of annoying for the consumer, and it also makes you look like a lazy person who cannot create more content, or that doesn't really care about their consumers, and you're just really trying to just redo the same thing over and over again, and expect people to just out of nowhere just like your stuff. So definitely it helps to be more productive as well, because having a calendar is almost like you have an agenda. You have something to do, you have goals to meet, you have a specific like you got to post these 3 things, maybe like these 3 things need to go to 5 different social media channels, so you have a goal for the day. So that really helps you keep track of that, and it also helps you gather up that data that will be very useful later on once you create a different calendar, because you might want to create a calendar for just the current month, or depending on how advanced you are, you can maybe create a calendar for the whole year if you know exactly like what kind of posts perform the best for your company. So you may already know what that is, so you may be able to plan for the entire year. So yeah.
So let's go to the next. We are almost the end of it, which is, what are the most important way to tie all your social media together? What I'm trying to say is like such as logo, maybe to tie everything together to make it like wording, template, stuff like that. So what are the most important way to tie social media together, where when people are new, they don't understand this? Maybe a few things just to make people know
for sure
what they can really do.
For sure. Yeah, so it really we spoke about this earlier, but it really comes down to knowing your business and understanding your audience. So depending on those 2 things, you're gonna realize like what type of words you're gonna use. So right here in the podcast, we understand what kind of podcast we're doing here, and so we're gonna use a specific set of words in order to convey that. And of course, we each have our styles and our individual ways of delivering this pretty much the same content, but it really comes down to that. Like I said, like for myself, I wouldn't be able to deliver this content if I didn't know the content to begin with, and I didn't know myself, because this is the way I really talk to myself as well, and to pretty much everybody else who I convey this type of information to. So it really comes very natural to me to do it in this way, because I'm very logical, very technical, so I like to get down to the details and stuff like that, And so I understand that type of stuff, but you really have to understand, what that really consists of, and then from that you start creating things like the way you speak, the words that you're going to use. The logo, of course, the logo definitely has to be in every piece of content that you create, because that's really what identifies you. And so you want your logo to be one of the things that people remember you for. Like when people see your logo, they need to know that that's you. So you really are trying to engrave the design of your logo into people's minds and to people's subconscious mind. That way, and you always want to associate that with your content. Because if people see your logo somewhere out there, or somewhere online, they want to, once they see that logo, you want them to feel a specific emotion, because people interact with content with emotion. So when people interact with your logo, you want to produce a really good a sense of like whatever it is that your industry is. So if it's food, obviously you want your logo to trigger that emotion of hunger. You want people to feel hungry when they see your logo. Or if you're more of an inspirational brand, you want people to look at your logo and feel a little bit more hopeful, more motivated, more inspired. Whatever your industry is, you want your logo to be associated with that emotion. So put it everywhere. Templates definitely going to be extremely helpful. Once you know what kind of content you want to create a template, and then you could always go back to that template and modify it a little bit, and then go and put that. It's going to make your content creation so much faster. Believe me, I've been working on this for the past few months, and it's made it so much easier for me to put out content more consistently, more frequently. So that's that. The colors are definitely important. You definitely want to select, I would say, maximum of 3 colors for your brand. I mean, I would recommend 2, but if you need to use 3, use 3. But other than that, I wouldn't go above 3. I wouldn't be using more than 3 colors that represent your brand. And you want to be using those same colors throughout everything that you do. So your templates, your content, you want them to have those colors in them, because that really helps someone remind them of your brand and know that you're using those specific colors. So, and if possible, use these colors for your logo as well. That way your logo and the colors of your brand, they're all in sync, and everything looks very professional, looks very neat. And so website, I mean, the website should have your logo, it should have those colors like I said, and your website should have some content as well, and that's value driven. And of course you can throw in the value, of course, where they have to pay for it, but it should be like a combination, a good balance. But actually there shouldn't be a balance. I think there should be more free value there than there is paid for value, because that the free content is what's going to hook them, and the free content is what's going to inspire people to go and actually pay you something for your paid content. So
nice. Yeah, so one thing I remember, just recently I started my own personal channel, and I made a template where I thought I did a good job. It was a really nice template. One thing I didn't realize, Luis reminded me and told me about, which is my logo was not on the template, and I didn't pay attention to it. And then once I put it, to me it looked whole. And then you're gonna be doing things, I guess, that you're gonna forget, or it's gonna look nice. You're gonna forget to put your logo or your name on it, which is like, pay attention to that. That's very important to have your logo and name everywhere, I guess. Yes. So that was one of my experience. Next question, which is some tips on social media education and marketing, because getting educated, learning about marketing is going to help you to grow faster and make better social media. So, few tips.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the best social media education you can get is really to do your research and really analyze other people's social media accounts. That's really something that could be very easy and very natural for you to do, because if you're in business, if you're in a specific industry, most likely you're in love with that industry. I mean, you should if you're in business in that industry. So there should be some sort of passion already associated with that. So it'll be very natural for you to start following people who are inside of your industry and just pretty much just take a look at what kind of a social media post are they making, and what is the social media content that you like the most and the one that you engage with the most. And that's pretty much the one that you're going to want to create, because it wouldn't make any sense if you're creating content that you yourself wouldn't interact with. Like, that's just very contradicting. So when you're creating social media posts, make sure that you like them first. Make sure that you are willing to interact with your own content. If you're not willing to interact with your own content, then what makes you think that other people are going to? Like if you're already making your content with no belief in it, how do you expect people to have belief in it? And that this really applies to everything in life. Like, it's not just content, but anything that comes from you, you should believe in it 100%. Like, if you're watching this video right now, and like, if you were to hear me, like saying what I'm saying, and I said it by me not believing it, you probably wouldn't believe it either. So, you got to believe in whatever it is that you're putting out. So definitely believe in it. And as far as education goes, you can do that, or you can, of course, go on YouTube. YouTube is a great resource for you to, go and do your research and learn how to post, learn how to create content, learn how to target, learn how to use the social media accounts to their maximum, because you never know. There's always new features coming out with these social media channels, and there's always new ways, new strategies to do things, new ways to post, new ways to engage with your audience. And definitely YouTube is a great resource for you to keep yourself informed and keep yourself up to date to what's going on. And so YouTube's a great resource. You can blog, you can read books about it, you can buy courses. That's something I suggested before in a previous podcast. But definitely, if you can afford to buy a course, definitely do it, because it's really going to pay off. It's going to help you learn social media so much faster, as opposed to you just trying to do your research on YouTube. While YouTube is great, most of the information there is scattered. It's not organized properly. So unless you're able to organize it yourself in your head, that's going to be pretty hard. So especially if you're a beginner, you're not going to know where to start, where to finish. So if you buy a course, automatically you're going to be starting off in the right
direction.
Yeah, in the right direction, because you already know like where you're supposed to start, and you keep yourself from going into more advanced territory. Because if you go into advanced territory right from the beginning, it's very easy to get frustrated and depressed, because the advanced stuff is really, it can be pretty complicated for somebody who's just starting off. So you don't want to push yourself like that. So definitely like look into that, and you'll know where you currently stand with a course. And of course, sometimes depending on the course, you may be able to get access to the instructor, through email, through, I don't know, sometimes they have like forums within that course. So definitely look into that. But those are my tips for education.
Very nice. I think a previous podcast, we talked about a few softwares that you could use to make you a little bit faster, and then make a little better templates and everything. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment. We'll help you out with that. I think with this, we're gonna go to the last question, because
Let's do it.
I think we put out a lot of information, a lot of content for a new person that's starting a new social media channel. The last question is going to be, I guess after you answer this again too also, which is what kind of mindset do you need to have in order to build your social media? Mindset.
Like I said, right now, social media, trying to get attention there and really trying to get people to engage with your content, it's going to be pretty difficult, because there's already a lot of companies doing it. And, the people that go into social media, they're so, like, how can I explain this? Like, there's just so much content right now in social media that, for your content to stand out, it can be pretty difficult. Because you're not just competing against the people in your industry, you're competing against, everybody else in the other industries, because you see, people for the most part do not just follow accounts in only one industry. They most likely follow somebody in the music industry, they follow somebody in the gaming industry, maybe somebody in the I don't know, educational industry, maybe somebody, there's just so many industries, and they might follow people from all sorts of industries. And for your content to stand out, it's going to be pretty difficult. So I think the mindset you're going to just have to have is you're going to have to, this is a long game player here. So you're going to have to be very patient. You're going to have to have a very patient mindset, but at the same time be very persistent and have perseverance, because you're going to have to take action, and most of that action is not going to pay off. You're going to be doing, like I said, Bars was telling me the other day, he's taking 3, 4, 5, 8 hours making a video, and the videos are getting like, how many views are they getting? Not that many, are they?
One did pretty good. The other one is doing about 13 to now it's up to 15.
15 views. There you
15
go.
views.
So he's investing a lot of time into those videos, and and he's not. And this is something new for him, so he's stepping out of his comfort zone too, and at the end, people may not just watch your stuff, and this is something that you're just gonna have to embrace and just be okay with, and just keep on creating content. He's not gonna stop just because he got 15 views. He's gonna keep on making videos, and eventually one of them is gonna pop and is gonna make, like, who knows, a couple thousand views, and that's gonna be great and awesome.
Would be nice.
And so and so he just has to have that mindset of being patient, but at the same time still take action and be perseverant, and be motivated, of course, and really do this out of passion. Do this out of passion. Do not do this out of wanting to get views, wanting to get followers, wanting to get attention. All of those things matter, of course, but don't do it for those reasons. Don't do it for money either. All these things will come, of course, but don't make that your main goal. At the end, it should be coming from the heart. It should be whatever it is that you create, you should have a passion with it. You should be willing to do it even if you're not getting results. You should be willing to just do it for free and just be putting that out because you love it and you believe in the content that you're creating. And that's the mindset you gotta have.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for me, mindset is very, very important. I believe in setting your mind straight, believing in it, and starting blindly towards organized journey. And the reason I wanted to start is because I know that that's the direction the company should go. And with the help of Luis here, we're building the foundation. And while we're building the foundation, we're building ourselves, our mindsets towards doing the future amazing, great work that we're producing. And mind is a powerful thing. Don't let it for waste. Work hard. Life is short. Just go at it. Don't waste any time doing something you don't like. Do something you do. And previously I was talked about neuroplasticity. Basically, you can recreate your habits. Your new neurons will get formed into your new journey that you're embarking. And just learn about it. Learn about mindset. Learn about social media, and then just put yourself out there for the better version of you, a better good for your future. So I think with that I put the mindset the last because Develop Your Mindset is the podcast, and we believe in developing ourselves constantly here, non-stop. So I would like to hear you guys, how do you develop yourselves? And if you guys have any questions, please again leave comments down below. We will be available for you to answer anything that you're specifically like to know. And with that, we're gonna close today, and I appreciate you guys being watching. If you watch this long, then good on you. We're always trying to put really good content out for you guys to put really good value for you guys to be lots of help. And please subscribe and like if you really like the content we put out. If you think you have friends and family that would like to hear about this content, share the channel with them. We appreciate it. And thank you, Luis, for being here Saturday late, putting this content out. And we will be posting it soon. And thank you so much. And we'll be finishing.
Yeah, so thank you once again for having me. It was great. I really enjoyed putting out that content for you guys. You know, this is one of my passions. I love to, you know, work with social media, and of course, you know, my biggest passion is personal development. And so, you know, it's always fun to put out, you know, this type of content. You know, I'll do it like any time. You know, like whether it's like early in the morning, late at night, I don't care. This is awesome content that I'm willing to talk about anytime, because it's just fun. It's just amazing. I really enjoyed. I get lots of fulfillment just to put out this value out for you guys. So it's amazing. And I mean, I'm gonna leave social media links down below. We actually have new social media links just specifically for the podcast now, as opposed to before. You know, it was since, you know, we do work at a jewelry company. You know, he's the owner of the jewelry company Kabartsi, and so we had that integrated because, you know, we sort of, you know, it's us, we work there, and so we thought it would be a great idea, you know, to combine the two. But now that you know that, you know, that's what it is, we've decided to sort of separate this and let Kabartsi be the jewelry company that it is. And for those of you who love this type of content of actualizing yourself and, you know, growing your mindset, developing it, you know, we've created separate social media channels that are going to be specifically aimed at delivering that type of content. So please go over there and follow us. You know, we've just started this off, and it's going to be amazing. We just cannot wait to, you know, put out all the content, you know, all the value that we have in store for you guys. And we're going to set up a new studio too in the office, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. There's just so many great things coming forward, and we're so excited. And thank you very much for watching once again. And of course, you know, leave your comments down below. If there's something about social media that we didn't cover here, you know, because we're sort of limited here on the amount of time that we can use here, you know, please leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure we can, if it's a big thing, we'll go ahead and make an entire podcast out of whatever it is that you want to know about social media. But if it's something small, we'll go ahead and respond to you, you know, in the comment section, and we can make a short video if that's what you want us to do. You know, we're willing to make videos, we're willing to make a huge podcast. Just let us know what you want. So yeah, it was great, and thank you very much for watching. And close it off. Close it off together.
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Also, like Louis said, please leave, if you guys have any ideas, we'd like to hear from you guys. So with that, I think thank you, and we'll see you next week.